Good afternoon, everybody, and it's a great pleasure to be back here in KL after 3 years of absence and COVID. COVID, of course, has had a great effect on the learning of many of our students globally, and we have seen a rise in the number of children being referred to us and needing some support, both for dyslexia, ADHD, and other learning difficulties. So Dyslexia School Search was founded 11 years ago, at a time when I was struggling with my own daughter trying to find a school that would be able to support her dyslexic profile. So who do we help? The dyslexics, the dyscalculia, dysgraphia, dyspraxia, DCD it's now known as, ADHD, ADD, twice exceptional children. Now they are very interesting. They're often children who are on the ADHD spectrum or ASD and are at the very top percentile in many, many areas of their learning. And of course, children with autism. Globally, it's recognized now that 20% of the world's population have a dyslexic profile. I think most people would be surprised at that statistics, but that is what we now know. 3% are dyscalculic. Now, dyscalculia is the area that I find most difficult to help families with because some kids with dyscalculia really, really struggle to get a grasp on anything that has anything to do with maths. 5% with dyspraxia, 2% are very badly affected to the point where sometimes they actually need to use the walls to help them stand up. ADHD, 4 to 6%, ASD, 1 to 2%. An interesting fact here in Asia, because I know that many people don't recognize dyslexia or the dys profile, Lee Kuan Yew was a dyslexic, and he was proud to say he was a dyslexic, the founder of Singapore. So you can see from this list here how many well-known dyslexics there have been and are still in the world today. As you know from attending this show, there are approximately 2,500 independent schools in the sector, educating around about 615,000 children. Over 1,000 years of education. And so I think we're pretty well qualified to teach children. Why choose a UK boarding school for your child? You are here today meeting some schools, and it's really interesting about the UK and the empathy and understanding of children who have got a neurodiverse profile. And one of the important things with children with a neurodiverse profile is to find what they're good at. It's, it's not all about just being in the classroom. It's trying to make a child feel important, well regarded by their peers and teachers. We often hear this expression about children with a neurodiverse profile, dyslexics, etc. They are out-of-the-box thinkers. They are the creatives, they are the engineers, they are the architects, and they are very successful entrepreneurs. Some very famous dyslexics who you hopefully will recognize. It's interesting to see how many are men rather than women. It is generally appreciated that more boys have dyslexia than girls. This is an example of what a dyslexic might be seeing when they look at a page of script. It's really quite challenging, and it took me quite a long time to be able to translate that. So if you've got time, study it, because it is testing. But it gives you an idea of why they are slow readers. Right, the types of school, you all know this now. We have single-sex, co-educational, day boarding, A-levels, IB, religious schools, specialist schools in music, art, and drama. The choice of exams is really interesting, and for my children with neurodiverse profiles, it's important that we consider not just the A-level and IB, but also look at BTECs, the technical levels, City and Guilds, as stand for those children who have really quite profound learning difficulties, and also those schools who support for learning. But it's the BTEC in particular that I like for children in their sixth form years, because they can be broken down and not have to wait till the end of their 2-year education in sixth form to know what they're going to qualify with. So children with learning difficulties in the UK can get exceptional support in the schools. So they also, apart from one-to-one or very small group lessons, and I'm talking about in the small groups probably one teacher to maybe 5 children with a similar profile. They have access in the school to speech and language therapy, occupational therapy, executive thinking, and counselling. When I first started this organisation and I visited a mainstream school and met the head of a learning support department, he said to me, confidence is king, and that truly is the issue. A child who has a neurodiverse profile needs to understand that they are potentially brilliant, but they certainly are not. In their eyes, often they feel that they are useless, and we need to build their profiles up and their belief in themselves. So one of my big issues when I'm looking at schools is how do we make it a holistic journey? It's not just about what goes on in the classroom, it's about the whole experience of being at school. So confidence is king. That's stretching you. That's a photograph taken from some of the children at Gordonston School. So being part of a school community, as I said, is not just about the classroom. It is learning to believe in yourself and to believe in your own abilities. And the breadth of education that children get in the UK is just quite extraordinary. So testing yourself, being challenged all the time. This boy is part of the CCF. He's sponsored by the RAF for free. He's not going on into the armed forces, but he's learnt to parachute, been doing parachuting, etc. Children today are incredibly lucky because of assistive technology. My daughter, when she was going through the process, assistive technology was just starting. Today, it's there, and good schools will even have their own assistive technology departments so the children can go to them and be taught how to use and develop their skills. So you've got all these different abilities now with speech recognition, text-to-speech. We all can use them every day ourselves, but it's really important that the children are encouraged to use this technology and makes a huge, huge difference to their lives. So for me, the majority of the children that I look to place them into mainstream schools. However, some children with neurodiverse profiles need to have special needs schools. And that is also something that I help with. So we've got children on the autistic spectrum, where we have to find schools where they're empathetic and they use different therapies to help children. So I've just put down, horse therapy is one of those things that is there for children, all sorts of therapies. But it's important to know that those children are helped in the UK quite considerably. So the gifted and talented, I touched on this at the beginning, so it's these 2E children who are often ADHD, maybe very high functioning autism, but are exceptionally, exceptionally bright. And again, they need empathetic teaching, and schools are welcoming these kids into their communities because they are bringing so much to the table. So as long as the school is the right school to give them the empathy that they need and understanding when they might need some counselling if they're finding things a bit stressful. And I've mentioned there, sort of scholarships are available for these children, so please bear that in mind. Music. Again, I talked about what goes on outside the classroom is really important. So it is important to discover what the gift is and talent of that child. So whether it's music, whether it's art, sport, drama. Music plays a huge part, a huge role in most schools in this country. And all the schools that you're meeting here today will have fantastic music departments. Art and design, interesting one. 25% of our GDP in the UK is earned by our designers. It's very, very surprising if you find a designer who has not got a dyslexic profile. Architects, some of the world's most famous architects are dyslexics. Engineers are dyslexics. The brain is wired in such a manner that it really, really is very prevalent in their experience. So art and design, again, the UK schools have the most stunning facilities. I've touched on drama, etc. Keira Knightley, as you saw at the very beginning, is a dyslexic. Some people would say, how on earth does she learn her lines? When you know what you want to do, you learn your lines. It can be tough, but with assistive technology these days, life is so much easier. So I've talked about BTECs at the beginning, and there is a wonderful combination where you can combine A-levels and a BTEC. So there are BTECs in all sorts of subjects, but I love this image, and BTEC dance is fantastic. I've known a girl get into Durham University dyslexic. She did maths and physics as her A-level choices. A lot of dyslexics are brilliant at maths and physics, and she did BTEC as her third subject, and she got straight into Durham on a BTEC in drama. Another student of mine, she got into Exeter to read veterinary science, again on maths and physics, and she did a BTEC in animal management at a school that has a zoo. So that gives you an idea of what is available in the UK. Sport. So many sportsmen are dyslexics. I mean, a huge number. I could keep on boring you forever on the number, but let's put it like this. Lewis Hamilton is a dyslexic, one of the people that we're talking about at the moment. But again, sport is huge in the UK schools, and 40 different sports on offer. There's something for every child. Golf. My daughter, my dyslexic daughter, she shone at school through her sports, and in fact was the first girl to play golf in the headmasters' conference in the UK a few years ago. Riding. Again, this is a school called Millfield, and they, like many schools, encourage children to take their own horses to school with them. So endless possibilities. Another school where cycling is a huge sport. And that's an example of where a child may not be want to play rugby, but has actually got abilities on the track or riding, cycling, racing. So why boarding? It's challenging and broadening experiences outside the classroom. We know that going into this century we now certainly are, that those kids who are good at communication, good at being part of a team, being part of teamwork, are going to do actually better in life, in their jobs, in their careers going forward. And being in a British boarding school and working as a team is crucial to success, I believe. So boarding schools teach you self-belief, to be independent thinkers, to develop self-reliance, teamwork, being tolerant, very important being in a boarding school, to learn how to tolerate the people around you can be quite testing, and also to have consideration. Just a few images that I thought I'd throw in. So the soft skills, as we call them. So this is a very interesting report that's just come out from the Manpower Group in 2021, highlighting the dyslexic thinking skills are going to be more important in the 21st century than ever before. The pandemic has changed how we work and how we're living and what's going to happen in the future. So communication, time management, prioritization, adaptability, analytical thinking, initiative taking, empathy, and team leaders. That is what society is going to need, and dyslexics are really good at it. I keep on talking about teamwork. It's vital. That's all. So the future for pupils with neurodiverse profiles. Problem solvers, looking at things differently, brilliant at moving, hence great dancers, musicians, sportsmen. They're makers, they're engineers, they're architects, they're programmers, they're surgeons. People say to me, how can they be surgeons? Basically, a surgeon is looking at a body as a piece of mechanics. So it makes sense that they can be very good surgeons. The inventors, the scientists, the technologists. And interesting, this report that came out from Deloitte recently, they're looking to employ people with neurodiverse profiles. GCHQ, I don't know if you know what GCHQ is, but it is where our spy masters. So this was said by Tony Little, who was the retiring headmaster from Eton College. Examination is only one part of education, and the young learn more outside the classroom than in, and that is incredibly important to bear that in mind. Some of the degrees available at UK universities, I thought some of them were quite fun. Actually, I haven't put the one about circus skills on here as well, but you can see there is so much. And these, again, are jobs for the future. These are jobs that are now, not jobs from the past. I can really recommend this publication. If you've got your phones out, please do scan and look at this book, because it is very helpful and will give you some very good insight into what is being done in the UK and around the world. And not enough is being done around the world, but the UK does lead the way. That's the book. And you'll see that it's being sponsored partly by Richard Branson. So Richard Branson, he was part of that montage of photographs that I showed of very well-known dyslexic people. And finally, I think this is finally, you might wonder why there's a picture of a drone on there. I want to share a story with you about when I first started the organization. A mother rang me from Germany in floods of tears. She'd just been told that her 15-year-old son was retarded. She spoke perfect English, and I have to say I was shocked and horrified by what she said. I asked her to give me a little bit of a description about her son, and she told me that he'd learned to speak English perfectly in 1 year, in fact, to a higher level than herself. We had him assessed by one of our team. The assessor, educational psychologist, came back greatly excited and said this boy had got one of the most exciting audio memories that she had ever seen. We talk about having a photographic memory, but we don't talk enough about audio memories. This boy went to a mainstream school, but very empathetic school. They put everything on audio for him. He managed to achieve 8 GCSEs in 18 months. At the same time, he set up a manufacturing business. He was manufacturing the broken spare parts. He got a 3D printer his parents very kindly bought for him. He persuaded his housemaster to let him run it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And he was manufacturing the broken pieces from drones, from people all around the world. He left, he got 3 very, very good A-levels. He then went to Oxford, and in 2019, he came 3rd in Microsoft's World Championship for Innovative Creation. That's a dyslexic thinker, and outrageous that he was labelled as he was by his own country. I'm very proud that he came to me and the outcome was brilliant. So that's it. Thank you.